So hitting your driver straight is one of the most difficult things to do in golf. And in fact, if you asked a golf pro what they found the most difficult thing to consistently do, it would be hitting their driver down the fairway on every hole, particularly because they hit the ball so far. The longer hitter will find it much more difficult to keep their driver straight than the shorter hitter will, obviously. And it's not that easy for me to tell you in a tip like this what you personally might be doing wrong that creates a lack of direction in your driver. But having said that, there are a few things that will most commonly be causing you lack of direction in your driver, and I'm going to go over those. I've got my top 3 things why you may not be hitting your driver straight. So the number one thing that you would need to look at if direction is an issue for you off the tee would be your alignment. Now, hopefully you've got a routine that you go through that helps you line up correctly every single time, because it's a really important part of your pre-shot routine and setting yourself up to hit the ball as straight as you possibly can. Now, what most people do will have a routine, and this is what the pros do, where they stand behind the ball and they'll pick a spot about a club length in front of the ball and line up over that. So they're going to pick a spot that's on the fairway about a club length in front of your ball, and this line here represents my target line. So if you've picked a spot, say a piece of grass or a little rough patch or something about a club length in front of the ball after you've stood behind, that's directly in line with where you want to hit the ball. Then what you're going to do is take your club face here and line it up to your spot there. So that alignment stick there represents our target line. Now, what's really important to know with your aiming is that your feet then do not aim at the target. Your feet are parallel to that line. So it's a bit like train tracks. Your feet are always slightly left of the target. This is really important because a lot of people try and aim their feet up to the target, and then of course that pushes the club out to the right. Most right-handers have a tendency to aim too far right, and the opposite for left-handers. So that's something that you want to keep a check on. So we're going to line our club face up to our spot, then we're going to line our feet, hips, shoulders, all up absolutely parallel to our target line if we possibly can. So that's our number one thing, is alignment. Stand behind the ball, pick a spot about a club length in front, come around and line your club face up to that, and then get yourself nice and square. Now, if you take a look up at the target at this point and you don't feel that you are lined up square, then that could be a sign that your technique is costing you in terms of your alignment. As I said before, if you tend to hit the ball to the right, you will start aiming left. If you tend to hit the ball to the left, you'll start aiming right, and you won't even know you're doing it. You'll still feel as if you're aiming straight because you get so used to it. So when you come around and take your setup position using this little routine that we've just talked about, once you set up, don't start shuffling around to get comfortable, because then you know that you're going out of your alignment. So reason number 2 why your driver may not be staying on the fairway is the path of your swing. Now this is a huge one. The driver is the longest club in the bag, so the path of your swing is going to be accentuated the most. So this is where it's so important to get the path correct. Now, if you tend to come across the ball, you'll either hit it left, or if you leave the club face open, you'll slice it to the right. If you tend to come more from the inside, you'll either hit it out to the right, or in an effort to stop doing that, you'll square the club face up artificially, and then you'll hook the ball. So that is a massive reason why your direction may go off, particularly with the driver being that long club. So a good way to help you get your path right is to pop a couple of clubs. I've got an alignment stick and a club here, directly lined up to where you want to go, and we want to just practice with some small swings. You might want to do this with an iron, because if you're coming over the top or coming from the inside, it'll be the same for all your clubs. So you might want to go down to a 7-iron and practice this little path drill. Half swings, making sure the club swings straight down these lines, half swing back and half swing through. I've got my driver here, but you would do it with a 7-iron. You could pop some balls on a low tee. So that's really good to help really get that path correct, because when you play golf, you've got a sort of a tilted arc or a tilted circle around your body that the club will take that path. That's sort of tilted back, tilted through. If you get to the top and you come out and over, or if you get to the top and you come in, now this is less common. The more recreational golfer will be more likely to come over the top. The better golfer can sometimes come too far from the inside. Either way, it's going to affect your direction. So take out your smaller club, pop a ball on a tee, give yourself a couple of guides like this. Half swings, really swinging through. This may be also an example of where you might want to get a lesson from your local pro, because they can look at you and tell you exactly what's happening, whether you are coming across or whether your path is correct or incorrect. And our third reason why you may not be keeping your driver on the fairway is your timing and your tempo. Now, as I said before, with this big long stick, the one that you're wanting to get out there as far as you possibly can, it's quite easy and quite tempting to rush the changeover. Now, when you rush your changeover, the club comes out and across, which we talked about a little bit earlier in our second reason why you may not be keeping your driver straight. So it's really important to wait for the changeover, particularly in your driver. When you get to the top, just wait for the club to drop down into the slot before you really go for it. I'm all for good swing speed and giving the ball a hit, but you've got to time it well. You can't hit the ball from the top. You've got to wait, allow the club to drop down into the slot, then really everything will come through together and you can really give it a whack. So timing and tempo is crucial in keeping your driver straight. So some really good drills that you can use if you tend to rush. Again, your pro may help you to know if this is going to be you or not. Get to the top, you can do a little squat with the knees, let the knees slightly separate before you come through, so that's going to look like this. Just a really subtle little squat which just holds everything back before you come through. Another simple way to help with you slowing down that transition, get to the top, a little bit of a pause before everything comes down and through. So that can help your timing and your tempo. There's also an old tip where you count 1, 2, 1, 2. We want all the power down there at the ball, and that's also going to help your direction as well. So those are our 3 direction tips. Hopefully you can go and do some practice on those. Now I've got 2 bonus ways. If you're out there and you're playing poorly, you're hitting your driver all over the place, we've all had days like that, and you cannot seem to get the ball on the fairway, there's a couple of tricks that will just get you through to the end of the day. It's just tee it down a little bit lower. So if you normally tee it, sort of 3 inches above the ground, come down about half of that, and that's going to get the ball onto the ground a bit quicker, and it's also going to keep you a little bit straighter. So give that a try if you're desperate. Bonus tip number 2 is to use a shorter, slower, smoother swing. So you can 3/4 length your backswing. Now I know that's a little bit hard to do with your driver, but give it a try. It will reduce your length, but it will also straighten you up a little bit too. So these couple of tips, teeing it a bit lower, 3/4 swing with a slower tempo, those are sort of desperation tips if you're just having that terrible day and you cannot keep the ball straight. So give those a try. That will help you. What's another one be to help with the transition?
Just add a little pause at the top.
Little pause. Pause is good. Thanks. And if you could pick a couple of things that would sort of do it again just in case.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So reason number 2 why your driver may be all over them. And our last reason why Hit it easy.